Yeah, the Angels the whole day before, day after, and we know what Shohei is after this season. After seeing that first start, Jared, is it more clear to you that he has his eyes set on the Cy Young?
I'm not going to say yes, because we know Shohei Ohtani is always more concerned about the team. Yes, individual accolades, if it happens, great. But he said when he got and signed with the Dodgers, it's all about winning championships. Even at the parade last year, after winning a second championship, what did he say? 8 more to go? So that's always on his mind. Now, if he goes out there and pitches extremely well, and we're in July and August, and he's doing his thing on the mound, I think he's going to be hunting for that. But more importantly, I think the Dodgers, and like you mentioned, Fabian, earlier, he's got to be able to communicate and understand. I got to communicate with Mark Pryor. I got to communicate with Dave Roberts and the staff, letting them know how I feel. He's got to be extremely honest, because as great it is that he's being a two-way player, and for him to win a Cy Young and win an MVP, that is absolutely insane to do that. And again, I think he's going to shoot for it, but I think he's going to wait till sometime in July, August if he's in the running. But the most important thing is understanding we got to make sure he is healthy heading into the postseason. He understands that. And for him to be up for that is absolutely crazy. I know I'm smiling right now. And I said it on the last show, 30, 40 years ago, guys, would he have this conversation about a player? It is still mind-boggling to me that this guy has a legit chance, if he pitches the way he's capable of pitching, to possibly win the Cy Young if he gets 25, 28 starts, and obviously the MVP in the same year. So it's truly baffling to me.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a big wins and losses guy when it comes to evaluating pitchers. I mean, big shout out to Henry Chadwick for inventing that stat back in the day. But I still did go back and see how many wins did Babe Ruth have in home runs in a season. It was like 13 and 11. So I think just for Shohei's case, 20 wins, I think, means more, even if you're not using it as a big way to gauge and evaluate a pitcher. Just the mere fact that a guy can go out there and do that as often as he does and still perform at the plate, it's mind-blowing. I'm sure we're going to be talking about all season, right, Fabian?
Yeah, 100%. I think there's something to he's never like strictly said this and put this out there, but I think there is something to maybe feeling like he left something on the table in Game 7 of the World Series, where he obviously comes in, pitches on short rest for first like real time in his big league career. Like, he'd done it one other time, but it was a rain out, weird circumstances. But like for the first time really in his big league career, came in on short rest, exited after not the best outing. He clearly was gassed, like he's clearly didn't have his best stuff, and exited with a deficit there, and didn't feel like he necessarily did quote unquote did his job on the mound. I do think, I wonder if there's like part of that that's sort of driving. It's like, hey, this stuff really matters for him on the mound as much, if not more, than it does for him at the plate. And having that sort of goal and that mission in mind to like sort of show how good he is as a pitcher, especially knowing how much that's sort of been up in the air for him, just considering the elbow surgeries throughout his career. It's something that he knows he's going to have only so many windows to sort of have a season like this where he's going to be able to possibly make 25 starts in a season.
And I love that point, Fabian, you just made about the goals thing. Athletes talk about all the time, when you have a purpose and you have a goal to reach, that makes you hungry, and that actually makes you a better player. And we all know Shohei Ohtani, and it's been rumored years ago, he's kind of mapped out his career and what he wants to accomplish as not only a baseball player at the big league level, but he wants to accomplish team-wise, individual-wise. So there's nothing wrong with having that goal. Even Yamamoto talked about, I want to win Cy Youngs. And guess what? If he's winning Cy Youngs, or if Shohei Ohtani's winning Cy Youngs, guess what? We're winning a lot of ball games. So that's a good goal to have.
Yeah, and by the way, I hate that pitch to Bo Bichette in the World Series. It still haunts me, even though the Dodgers end up winning that game. I was breaking down some Shohei pitching with our guy Jose Mota, and one thing he was telling me was just kind of going back to his Angels days. Like when he's in the rotation, he just wants to be in the rotation. He wants to make his turn through the rotation. He wants to be a 6-inning guy. And Bobby, you mentioned kind of the communication level that he's going to have with Dave Roberts and the organization. Just kind of how does that communication play on your minds? It's just, hey, we're just going to run this thing until we see a problem present itself? Or does it something that's a little more proactive than that?
I think it's something where they have to check in regularly with him. And I think especially Mark Pryor's got to check in regularly with him. I know that Dave Roberts in a lot of ways is kind of pretty hands-off on the pitching front when it comes to sort of managing certain guys. Ohtani's probably definitely one of those guys as well. unless it becomes a situation where it impacts him in the lineup. So I think it's something that they're going to have to check in over the course of the season. But it does, like you mentioned, he wants to make his regular turns. He even volunteers, I'll even pitch on shorter than my regular rest if they ask me to. I don't think the Dodgers will be asking him to do that, but they're going to be in a position where I think he knows, and he's kind of vocalized this is going to have to be a collaborative effort between him and the organization, knowing that there's going to be situations where they maybe ask him to take some extra rest between starts, and he said, if they ask, I will do it. So also we've seen situations where he has kind of volunteered himself on a whim, or it'd be a Friday in Baltimore. Tyler Glasnow can't go. He's on 8 days of rest. I can go, and he goes, and it was really good. So we've seen where they have to be flexible at times, especially last minute, where you wouldn't normally do that with the starting pitcher. But that's sort of an example of how much they kind of have to be ready on a whim if they need to be, but also being proactive on the front end of things.
Yeah, and it feels like they have a really good communication level partnership. And Shohei's always saying the right thing. I think my favorite quote from him last year was to the Japanese media when he said that he'd be willing to bat ninth if it meant helping this team. Don't worry, you batting ninth is not optimal for this lineup, Shohei. Now, we spent a lot of time talking about Shohei, so guess what? We're not going to talk about him again when it comes to will or won't he make the roster, right? We're going to go into Fabian Ardaya's opening day roster projection, which you're going to see on The Athletic, I think, in the next week, Fabian.
Yeah, we'll see that as it gets finalized, but a lot of it's sort of stuff that I've kind of written about, hinted about, just sort of the roster is close to set at this point, especially after the latest round of cuts, but just sort of how I view things kind of standing as of right now.
Awesome. So Shohei, of course, two-way designation. So that, of course, helps the Dodgers essentially carry an extra pitcher. So starting with the starting rotation, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, he's getting the ball on opening day, followed by Tyler Glasnow, Roki Sasaki, and Emmett Sheehan. That brings us to Roki Sasaki, who has really been the talk of spring training, just with the ups and downs. We know that the flashes are high. We also know there's some command issues that are part of it as well. Jerry, what is your latest on the latest start from Roki Sasaki?
A little bit of a mixed bag. Once again, I think it was better, but once again, the command's not there. The base on balls, you cannot have that from any pitcher, whether you're a reliever, but especially a starter, because when you have those free passes, not only you're having traffic on the bases, your pitch count continues to go up, and you're not utilizing your defense. So I don't know. Looking at him, I don't know if it's his delivery. Is he trying too hard? He's always set in that stretch all the time. He doesn't have a windup. You look at our other pitchers, like a Shohei Ohtani, Yamamoto, and other guys. They have a windup, an easy flow, and it seems to me they're using their entire body. Him starting at such a stop, I think, is kind of limiting himself a little bit. But needless to say, he's got to figure out a way to be more efficient. And because he's got two not good of stuff, he has two greatest stuff. Because when we see him throw strikes, when we see him get ahead, he's mowing down these guys. He's got one of the nastiest forkballs I've ever seen, and he's got velocity when he's hitting the corners. So that's why I think I wouldn't say it's frustrating, because it is spring training, but it's a little bit of an enigma, because we know how dominant he was in the postseason last year. So we know he's not nervous. Okay, we know that's not it. We know he's not scared, but he's got to figure out his mechanics, because he is too talented, and we need him. Blake Snell's not going to start the season in the rotation, so we got to have guys that we can rely upon that can give us innings, and he can't continue to go out there and issue free passes, 3, 4, 5 base on balls, an outing, because that's going to limit his innings. He's just too talented. So again, it's spring training. I'm hoping he's trying to iron some things out. And then when the bell rings, when the season starts, he'll be fine-tuned, and he's be able to throw strike one, get ahead of guys, and use that devastating forkball.
Yeah, 71 pitches, 38 strikes, 4 walks for his spring 6 2/3 innings, 9 walks and 10 strikeouts. Fabian, I saw he told you guys after the game about how that two-seamer was impacting his mechanics a little bit there. What did you see from Roki?
Yeah, it's sort of like the trend line of the entire spring in a lot of ways, where he isn't able to make the adjustment in the middle of an outing, or at least not make it fast enough. Where the point where the inning spirals fast enough that Dave Roberts kind of has to get him out of there. And by the time when he re-enters, he's usually better after that. But the fact that he's not able to diagnose and address in the middle of an outing, in the middle of an inning, it's easier said than done, obviously. And that's one of those things where a more veteran pitcher probably be able to do it a little bit quicker. But that's been one of the biggest things for him, because like you're right, when the command is dialed in for like those spurts, like it looks really good. And he looks like a guy who, as he's trying to figure out this third pitch, is at least a guy you trust to go through the order a couple times and look pretty good. And maybe if the third time through the order is an issue, that's an issue you can deal with. That's an issue that every young starting pitcher has to go through. But the thing that's concerning with him being in the rotation to start the season is, all right, what if he has one of these blow-up innings early on in a regular season game? What does it do to your bullpen going forward? All that sort of stuff. This is stuff that the Dodgers obviously can afford, especially in April and May. This was the spot they were in last year with him, and they got along just fine. They won the World Series, even with him not working out as a starting pitcher. But it's definitely something that is interesting to keep in mind, especially with the Dodgers insisting that he's going to be in the rotation to start the year. And it's very telling, obviously, to hear Dave Roberts say, when asked directly, all right, is he one of your 13 best pitchers? And he said he's going to be a starter. That was the non-answer that you sort of have.
Yeah.
Where it speaks to like what he's done. Like, it speaks to what the results have been this spring. And obviously, the Dodgers aren't going to rely solely on his spring training results, because if you're going strictly off spring training results, then you're looking at River Ryan being a shoe-in to be in the rotation because of how dominant he's like. But there are obviously other factors at play. They want to have River Ryan in a controllable environment because he's coming off Tommy John surgery, and they also feel that Roki Sasaki's best development is going to come in the big leagues, and they're willing to swallow whatever lumps come their way. And that's the decision that they're making. I think it's a luxury that the Dodgers are in, but it's something that you have to sort of monitor how this is going to impact his development going forward and how long the leash he's going to have going into the season.
Yeah, I remember when I heard Dave say that, I was like, really hope Roki's not watching this or hears this because of the confidence. And you just want him to be in a great spot mentally out there on the mound. As far as that third pitch and just the experimentation there, I mean, you talk to some guys and like, okay, he needs a bullet slider, a fastball that he can buckle some guys, but needs a kind of a wipeout, finish out in front of you type of slider to get the hitters off the forkball. Where do you guys think they are at as far as just the experimentation and knowing what the third and fourth pitches they want to go with are? Start with you, Jerry.
Well, I think he's going to need a third pitch. You know, everybody knows that, just to get him off the fastball, just to get him off the forkball. Case in point, if you're a hitter and you know that he is not having that command with that fastball, more than likely, we know already as a hitter, he uses that forkball to get as a chase pitch. Now I can hunt a fastball in the middle of the plate. If it's a little off to the right, a little off in, I'm going to let that go. I'm hunting middle of the plate because he hasn't proven to me he can hit his spots. And guess what? The umpire is not going to give him those spots either, because he hasn't proven to the umpire that he can hit his spots. So you're feeling extremely confident as a hitter. But if you have that third pitch and I'm hunting that fastball center cut and he throws a breaking ball, whether it's a pretty nasty slider on the black or in the middle of the plate down, I'm going to take that pitch. Now he's ahead in the count 0-1. That's how important that third pitch is, because I'm sitting hunting fastball in the back of my mind, that forkball's in play and he drops that breaking ball. Now I'm behind the count. Now I got three pitches to deal with because he's ahead in count 0-1. It's the ultimate chess game. And I say all the time, that's what makes baseball so special. And it's the best game in the world. I mean, it could flip a script, the battle between the pitcher and the hitter on one pitch. Now he's 0-1 as opposed to 1-0. Now he don't want to throw that forkball because guess what? Chances are I'm going to be sitting 2-0. So here comes the fastball, and that's what you've seen in spring training so far. These guys are jumping on the fastball. So that third pitch is vital for us, for any starter. You need to have three pitches to be able to have that count mouse game with the hitter.